Okay, step 2 of the 3-step solution for any problem, the fundamentals of making a plan and sticking to it. Make one decision at a time. This is one of the hardest sticking points for people like us. Big thinking, cautious but creative, ambitious, careful people, right? We get stuck at this place where we need to take action because actions require decisions. And we think we can get decisions wrong. We think making one decision requires making 20 decisions. We think a lot of unhelpful things about decisions. So here's how to get yourself out of this overwhelm and into meaningful, effective action. Make one decision at a time, ruthlessly. So in step 1, you clarified everything you know, right? This is valuable information, and I guarantee it is enough for you to know what next step you need to take. I promise. So look at this very clear and concise list that you have of things you know you want. And then I want you to look at what are the decisions in the room with me regarding this thing that I want. Decisions in the room, DIRs, as I like to call them, are choices available for you to make in the current moment. They're things you can decide and take physical action on right now. Seeing the DIRs is a skill you're going to get really good at, and it's the best shortcut back to the present moment when your brain wants to start time traveling and focusing on all of these possibilities that might await you during and after a decision. We call this snowball thinking, and we're champions at it. When you're not clear about the DIRs, you're imagining these future scenarios, future problems, and then you get anxious because you cannot figure out how to solve these problems, right? This sounds familiar, I'm guessing. Let's look at this experience objectively. You're trying to solve a future problem in the present moment. You're failing at an impossible situation. No wonder you've been anxious. So this DIR mindset helps you catch yourself in that trap, in that anxiety stress loop, because it's not a worthwhile use of your energy to stress about future problems. I'm going to say that again for any brains who need a little repeat. It is not a valuable use of your present limited resources to stress about potential problems. That's different than considering worst case scenarios from a calm mindset, right? Or calculating risk from a peaceful perspective. You can do that stuff all day long. Risk and unideal outcomes obviously affect our decision making. But stressing about them, I repeat, is optional. And it's not getting you anywhere. So let's use an example. Maybe from step 1, you have found this knowledge, this data point, that you know you want to be more fulfilled. Decisions not in the room right now are figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. Avoid bankruptcy and homelessness. Don't end up regretting everything. These things our brain usually tells us to focus on and solve for are not decisions in the room. They are not choices you can make and take action on in the current moment. I've met a lot of people whose brains have tasked them with figuring out their purpose with no guidelines on what that logistically means, because that is not a logistical verb. Figure out your purpose is not something that you can describe to me exactly how to do, right? So it's not helpful. Decisions in the room with you regarding this thing you want could be things like schedule a conversation with a mentor. Define what I mean by fulfillment exactly. It's a good one. Edit another chunk of my screenplay because I know I find that fulfilling. Notice how all of these are actionable. You could describe in detail to me how you would go about accomplishing them. And notice how they could all move you forward in this thing you know you want. There's a very important warning I have to give you. Your brain will tell you this is not enough. Small steps adding up to long-term progress is not immediately gratifying, and your brain is a reward-seeking machine. So it's very important for us to be honest that there's a lot less dopamine involved in the decision, I'm going to send an email to my mentor, than there is in the decision, I'm going to tell my boss off and quit this job and move to Europe because fuck it, right? Even just listening to that sentence is a little exciting. That's what your brain wants. It wants instant feedback that good things are happening because of the decisions you're making. Now, what we tend to do is let our external circumstances and other people give us that feedback. So we let our bank account tell us if we made a good or bad decision about the job we took. Or we let our friends tell us if we made a good or bad decision about the person we're dating. Or we just continue to make the same decisions over and over again because they're safe and familiar, which releases enough dopamine to keep us coming back for more. So remember, the way you have made decisions up until now is how you've created the results that you're experiencing. It's why you're overwhelmed and stuck. It's not your fault. It's just good to be realistic that what has gotten you here is not going to get you where you want to go. So this means two things. You have to let your brain freak out about it. You have to let your brain want to know exactly what is going to happen, want to get immediate gratification, and be really, really upset that things aren't going faster. And you have to keep going anyway. Let yourself be a human person, okay? Humans want to know exactly how something is going to play out before we commit to it and feel good about it. Don't make that desire a problem. And also, let yourself be Indiana Jones and trust that that little rock bridge is going to keep appearing as you continue to take one step at a time. Go look that up if that's a reference that's not familiar to you. It's good. So you don't need to see the whole picture, because if you did, you would be doing your plan already. Let's be honest. Your brain doesn't want you to commit to something because it can't see how it's going to play out. But if you could see how everything could play out, you wouldn't have any anxiety or confusion, right? So this is just a misunderstanding from our brain about how things are supposed to work, how decisions are supposed to go. So try out this new way of decision making and see how much farther you get and how much faster you get there when you keep making one decision at a time, taking one action, assessing the new information you have gleaned from that action, and repeating. Okay, so it's also important to note that this is a brand new way of thinking. If it feels challenging, or if your snowball habits are keeping it from actually being executable in your life, that's normal. It's okay. I offer coaching programs instead of coaching one-time experiences because I walk people through the entire process of habit change. So don't expect from yourself for this to be an event, right? It's a process, not an event. It's not a quick fix. You're reprogramming how you think so you're clearer and more confident and more certain. So if you want to become an excellent, self-trusting decision maker, book your free consult. And we'll talk about how we do this together in your coaching program and how it's so much easier when you don't require yourself to do it alone. And in the meantime, enjoy step 3, where we get to talk about supporting steps 1 and 2, repeating them to get you in action and get momentum, managing your energy. See you there.